This week marks a year since the Senate passed an immigration reform plan, and since then, absolutely nothing has been able to get through the House because of the stonewalling of Republicans. Now, to mark that, President Obama came out and said, this is what's going on. We are trying to make progress on immigration reform, but because of House Republicans, we can't do so. After saying that, he then had a phone call with House Majority Leader Eric Cantor. And the way that they both came out of it, him and Cantor, is very interesting. I think it says a lot about the sort of diplomacy that we have and have had during Obama's term. When he tries to get something out of the Republicans, how they will deal with that. So first, before we get to Obama's response to Cantor, this is what Cantor said coming out of that conversation. He says, today President Obama called me to discuss his desire for comprehensive immigration reform. The president called me hours after he issued a partisan statement which attacked me and my fellow House Republicans and which indicated no sincere desire to work together. After 5 years, President Obama still has not learned how to effectively work with Congress to get things done. You do not attack the very people you hope to engage in a serious dialogue. House Republicans do not support Senate Democrats' immigration bill and amnesty efforts, and it will not be considered in the House. I hope the president can stop his partisan messaging and begin to seriously work with Congress to address the issues facing working middle-class Americans who are struggling to make ends meet in this economy. So Eric Cantor, coming out of the conversation, is not having any of it. Now, Obama, we have on tape responding to it.
Before I get to Obama, and there's a lot to say about this, but I gotta just say right after that quote, are you fucking kidding me? Okay. How can we engage in a guy who's done nothing but attack us? How about you guys? You just spent 5 years trying to rip the guy to shreds. I mean, how do you come out with a straight face and say, how can we work with this guy after he attacked us?
Well, Jake, to be fair, Eric Cantor specifically says you do not attack the very people you hope to engage in a serious dialogue. And if Obama has learned anything, he should not be expecting to have a serious dialogue with them. So maybe he is attacking them.
And by the way, this is an attack. So how can he engage in a serious dialogue with you after you just attacked him? That's all you've ever done is attack him. And look, the problem isn't the Republicans. I get it. This is their propaganda. This is what they do. This is politics, right? The problem is the journalists who should look at this and say, this is the funniest thing we've ever seen. And the context of every article should be Eric Cantor, who has spent the last 5 years attacking President Obama every single day on every single topic, had the temerity to put out a statement saying, how could he work with Obama if Obama attacked him once?
Cenk, what about all those olive branches that Eric Cantor gave to Obama, like the 51st time they voted to repeal his signature legislation of the Affordable Care Act? Don't you think that's a nice good faith effort to bring them together 50 times voting to repeal the Obamacare? Come on, that's got to help. And I like you talk about how the press covered this. So the AP, this is from the AP, the last line of their article on this said, ultimately Cantor appeared to want to put the spat to rest. Oh, it was Cantor who rose above the fray. That's who did it. That was Cantor, he took the high road.
Maybe they mean consideration of immigration reform. Put that to rest.
And by the way, in sort of press release 101 or statement 101, all it says is it will not be considered. We won't do this. This is not what we're interested. There's nothing that we might do.
Yes. What's your proposal?
There's no proposal ever. There's never a proposal. It's just we're just not going to do this.
The headline should be Republicans still without immigration proposal.
Right. So yesterday in Twitter Storm, somebody asked me about this, and I mentioned it. The whole point is that the Republicans want the government to be broken.
Yes.
That's not by accident.
Yes.
It's not because they really disagree with the Democrats. The point is to make sure that you cannot pass any regulation, you cannot pass any legislation doing immigration reform. They're not interested in reform. They're not interested in your health care. They're not interested in making sure that the companies don't pollute. So what they do is they create a logjam, and then 101 is part of that attack is then to turn around and say it's Obama's fault, and all this time he hasn't been able to learn how to work with us. The way to work with us is to give us everything we want, or we break the government in half and that's it, we're done with it, and then blame him for it. Again, they have all the right in the world to say that. If the media covers that 50-50, it is a gigantic failure of the media.
And they have all the incentive in the world to say that because that message has worked. And if you talk to a conservative American, they believe that Obama has done absolutely nothing. Like if you were to look at the history of trying to pass the ACA, all of the times he just gave them more and more of what they wanted. The starting point was a Republican proposal, and then they yielded ground over the course of months, every single time. But if you were to talk to them, what happened during that? Oh, he wouldn't give the Republicans
Why do you
anything.
guys think he hasn't done more executive actions on immigration? Because he obviously doesn't have a problem doing it, and we've done plenty of stories about how actually deportations have gone way up under Obama, and it's not totally his fault because obviously this Congress, but it seems like he's not afraid of the executive action. So I don't understand why he doesn't do it.
I have an excellent theory on that. That goes to the core of the story. Let's let President Obama respond first. Let's listen to him, and then I'll tell you what I think is the secret machinations behind this move and why it's actually a little Machiavellian on the part of President Obama, but in a good way. So let's hear the president first.
House Majority Leader Eric Cantor said or claimed that you haven't learned how to work with them, and he's angry that you're attacking the GOP on the lack of movement on immigration reform. So I was wondering how you respond to that.
Well, I actually had a very pleasant conversation with Mr. Cantor yesterday. I did. You're always kind of surprised by the mismatch between press releases and the conversation. I wished him happy Passover, and what I said to him privately is something that I would share with him that I've said publicly.
So I think, Dave, what's happening here is when the president put out that press release saying the Republicans are not moving on immigration reform, they have come to the conclusion that the Republicans are not going to pass this before the election. So it's on. Let's get it on. Let's play politics.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you're not going to pass it, well, then I'm going to blame you for it, and I'm going to run in these elections saying it's your fault, and I'm going to get Latinos to vote for me, and I'm going to beat you, right? And congratulations. That's exactly how you should play politics. Yeah. Because, and just to be clear, because they're right on the policy. They're the ones who want to pass immigration reform. Right. If the Republicans are blocking it, why don't you let people know? And here it appears we have a positive first step in the Democrats saying, well, we're going to let them know.
Yeah. Two things. It would have been nice if President Obama said, "Where's her proposal? Did you ask him what his proposal was? Because I'd like to hear his proposal." He should do that. He never does that. The second, they just started now. Finally, after 5 years, they just started asking Republicans what their health care plan is. That's just started to happen, and ironically, it happened on Fox News. It's starting to happen there. I've seen it happen there all the time, way more than it's happening in mainstream news. Go ahead.
By the way, partly because to be fair and to give credit to real conservative Republicans in the House, they're demanding their version of
a health care plan.
Yeah, they're telling Cantor and Boehner and stuff, hey guys, we said we were going to have our version. Where's our version? Meanwhile, Cantor and Boehner are laughing like, they thought we were serious. We don't have our own version. What are you guys, actual conservatives?
Our version's Obamacare, you idiots. The second thing is Barack Obama did a little Machiavellian politicking there when he said, I had a great conversation with Eric Cantor. What he's saying is, hey, Tea Parties, we get along. He liked me. He was nice to me. If he could have hugged me, he would have. That's what he's saying. Well, we got along. I wished him a happy Passover. We talked nice. He was nice to me behind closed doors.
I'm eating matzah right after this. Like, how much more could I have loved the guy?
Don't you think that's what he was doing, or am I making that up?
Maybe, and then I think there was a lot of layers to it. We're now bordering, or I'm going to border on over-interpreting, but I think that there might have also been the release of the press release on the same day so that you can do like one of the most effective things in any debate, in any sphere, not just in politics, but you also in corporate politics, if you're in the business world, is that you punch somebody behind the scenes, and then you come out and smile and go, what? Yeah. Hey, what's going on? And then they seem agitated because they just got punched, and then they seem crazy, and you're calm. You're like, oh, hey, man, I wish them a happy Passover. What's he getting all worked up over? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if that was their intent, it was well played.
Yeah. Now, my final point, so as you raised the question of if he could accomplish much of this with executive orders, and why doesn't he do that? Why is he waiting on action from the House? And I agree. I think there's a lot of it that he could do like that. I think that if he's doing what Cenk says, and he knows that he's not going to get anything out of the House, which is shrewd of him since he's not, I believe the problem is he's also wrong if he thinks that running on this is going to keep the Senate, get them the House, and then they can pass a House version of it. I don't think that that's going to happen. And because I don't think that's going to happen, I think it's pretty awful of him that he doesn't do more through executive actions. Because if you're not going to get a bill in the next 6 months, in the next year, then you should do something to help these hundreds of thousands of people who are being affected by it now. And wanting to hold out for a bill because then it allows every Democrat to run run on it. Say we have this major reform legislation. It's not just President Obama saying, look, I passed some executive orders. Like that's a pipe dream at this point. You got to do something now because this is affecting actual families.
Yeah, but if I was a stone cold politician and I know I've got 3 years left, I'd wait till the midterms and I'd kick the Republican ass over it. And then if at the end they still resist, then I'd do executive order.
So you're saying that you think it's more powerful or it'll have a bigger effect on the electorate to run on wanting to do something than actually running on having done something?
No, so here's exactly how I would play it. For the next 6 months, I would say, they're blocking us. We want immigrants, we want to help you. They're blocking us. God damn it, stop blocking us, right? And so get everybody riled up. Right before the election, I'd do an executive order that was somewhat meaningful so that you say, I'm doing all the best I can, man. I just gave you an executive order. I'm doing the best I can. But you know what? If we break their goddamn backs this election, they'll have to bend after the election, which, by the way, is also true, right?
Yes.
And if you break their backs, let's say like something crazy happened. They lost the House, right? And then it's over. Then you will actually get the immigration reform you want. The reason to play hardball in politics is not for the sake of feeling good about it and being like, oh, I'm a tough guy. It's to actually get your policy passed. Because if you break their backs, they're not going to be in power and you'll get to pass the reform you want, or even if they are in power but they bled seats, at some point they're going to have to say, I don't want to lose my seat.
Right.
Okay, let's do immigration reform.